why do we keep on building ourselves physically and joining men's groups and hiring coaches? Like, why do I keep on doing that? Yes, it's so I can be personally successful, but also that gets to be the starting point of my children if I give them that information. When my kids start their own life without us, as long as I give them that information, that gets to be their starting point instead of them waiting decades to figure it out as I did. So if I live my life in ignorance and don't build myself, my kids get a lower platform that they're going to start their life on. Hey everyone, welcome to the Rising Father podcast. I'm Chris Rodak, telling you a story today about my son Nathan, who was very upset. He was crying and had his first, I'm really scared of what could happen situation at school. Maybe not completely his first, but I've never seen him like this. And it's almost, funny a little bit, about how little of a deal it was, but in his brain, it was such a big deal. And I remember feeling like that. I remember being in these situations at school where you did something wrong, or maybe you cheated for your first time, or looked off someone else's test, or you took a pencil from your teacher's desk, or something stupid, and you are just terrified over what might happen. You create this massive story in your head, and it just terrifies you and cripples you and paralyzes you with fear. And that happened to Nathan this morning. And I had to work him through that and calm him down, talk to him, give him some strategies to deal with it. But it was a perfect opportunity to introduce a lesson to him and to help him with some future situations that will happen. I did not want to let this situation go to waste. Like they say about, there's that government saying, it's don't let a catastrophe go to waste. That's kind of like what this was. This is a massive opportunity to teach him a really good lesson about many different things. So here's what happened. They use this program on their iPads at school where it's like a quiz game, and the teachers use it every single day. He goes to a great school. His teacher's awesome, and they use iPads occasionally to enhance the lesson and to say, okay, we just did a science lesson. Now, to end class, we're going to do this fun science quiz game on the iPad, something like that. And for whatever reason, his group of friends is into hacking right now. Probably because some YouTuber does it, or, something stupid. But his little group of friends and a lot of kids in middle school, the thing they do is let's see if we can hack this website. And they don't even know what hacking means. It's just a word to them. It's he's in 5th grade. He doesn't understand what hacking is. It's not if you've seen Red One, that movie with The Rock, where that guy's hacking the CIA's website or something to find Santa's location. It's not, these 5th graders aren't like Russian, spies. Hacking to them means you're doing a math problem on a website and you put a word instead of a number. It means nothing. So he was doing something that he called hacking with his friends, and they all do it. Let's see if we can hack this school website. Let's see if we can hack this game website. And it doesn't even mean anything to them. So FBI, don't go after my son. But he whatever he did, his friends were showing him, he did it. And then he got this email from the gaming website that said your account's suspended because of whatever he was doing. And he came to me. His face was pale, paler than it normally is. He's a redhead. And he was just breathing shallow, scared, had a terrified look in his eyes. And he was like, Dad, this email says my account was suspended. And he did, I was like, calm down, man. What happened? He's like, I'm not going to be able to use my iPad all day. He started freaking out. So I just, at that point, when someone else is in that situation, my strategy is always to say less. It's not to say more. Because I have tried saying more and trying to control their emotions by what I'm saying, like thinking, oh, if I say the right thing, then he won't have that emotion. It's like, no, not the way it is. They have to work through and process that emotion. So that's what he was doing. He was working through processing his emotion and, hyperventilating and getting red-faced and just scared about because he didn't understand what the heck he was doing. He was just messing around on a website, and it said your account suspended. I mean, I've gotten accounts suspended from like Instagram and Facebook and other stupid stuff. For the very first time, I tried to start a Truth Social account because Rising Fathers, the way I can get my message out there more, and as a company we can grow, is through social media. You can spend lots of money on ads, or you can grow organically with social media. So I want to be on as many different social platforms as possible. Really I don't even know how long Truth Social has been around, but I was like, hey, this is one place I haven't been on. So I started an account there, basically just reposting what I post on Instagram. And like the second day, I was like, your account's been suspended. I was like, for what? I've had the Rising Father account on Instagram for 4 years. Never had an issue. On Truth Social, after the second day, my account's been suspended. It's like, we've noticed suspicious. I had like one follower with the Rising Father. And so then I just said, well, screw it. If this is going to be a pain for me, sorry, you don't get Rising Father on Truth Social then. So big loss for you. But I'll try again maybe in like 6 months. But it's one of those things where if it's not easy for me to do and it's not going to suck my time, I'll do it. Like I got to spend my days on needle moving tasks, and that wasn't one of them. So if it's going to turn into a time sucker, then sorry. It's going to be months before I circle back to that again. But anyway, it's like, yeah, so Truth Social account was suspended. So it happens to anyone. And it said it had a date on there. It was like, we'll reinstate your account. I'm talking about Nathan's email from this place that we'll reinstate your account on February 23rd. So he was like, February 23rd? Oh my goodness, we use it almost every single day, and my teacher's gonna take my iPad and blah blah. He's freaking out. I said, do you know that? Like, do you know that's gonna happen? He's like, well, she's done it before to people. Blah, 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 blah. I said, okay, well, do you deserve it? He's like, no. I was like, well, are you supposed to be hacking your school iPad? He started to smile a little bit. No, and he was crying, like full out, red-faced, hyperventilating, terrified over what's going to happen at school. And my wife's a teacher in the district, so she has in the past, like, she's friends with some of the teachers. So when he was in like kindergarten, first grader, Nathan and Lauren were freaking out. She has like called the, text, because they're text buddies. She'll like text the teacher and be like, hey, Nathan's freaking out, just to let you know the dog ate his homework. Which I didn't know was a real thing until we got a dog. Apparently dogs are stupid and love eating pencils and paper. Did not know that was a thing. But our dog that I love, but is also really dumb, like, will just chew up and spit out paper. I've had wonderful books that full of wisdom, and I'll leave it on the floor or something, and I'll come back to it, and the dog has literally chewed through the pages. So I don't do that anymore. But anyway, I know she's done that in the past when the kids were younger. So I said, we're not going to tell Mom about this, and I'm going to text her, like, you need to learn to deal with this on your own. You're not going to get any special privileges. You need to go in there, face the consequences of what you did, and just accept them. And he didn't like that answer. He didn't like that I was telling him that he had to do that. He wanted it to be solved for him. He's like, well, I can tell her. I was like, nope, just tell her the truth. I said, the best thing you can do right now is just tell her the absolute truth, exactly what happened. This is what she does. I was a teacher for 15 years. I know what happens. I said, Nathan, if I was your teacher, here's what would happen. You would come up to me, and you'd say, Mr. Rodak, I've got an iPad problem. And I'd say, oh, let me guess, you were hacking or something, and now you're suspended. All right, go take your iPad to the tech guy. That's what I would do. I was like, I don't know how your teacher's going to react, but that's what I would do. I said, there's a possibility she could be mad. I said, and if she's mad, what's the worst thing that can happen? He's like, well, she could take my iPad away. I said, okay, And if she takes your iPad away, then what does that mean? It's like, well, then I can't play games when I'm done with my work. I said, okay, so in the worst possible scenario here, your iPad gets taken away and you can't play games during the couple minutes you have after you finish your work. And he started to calm down a little bit. And he's like, yeah. But he was like almost trying to justify to himself why he was so upset. And I was trying to sell him on why he doesn't need to be that upset. Taking him to the worst possible scenario of what if this doesn't work out? What if the worst happens? And I was like, okay, so absolute worst case scenario, your teacher takes your iPad and for a week, you get it back. She says, Nathan, you should have done better. You say, okay. I said, it's not like we're cutting your finger off. It's not like, we're canceling our trip to Disney World in the spring. I said, what's the worst thing that could possibly happen right now is you don't get your iPad for a week. She maybe she takes it. I said, we don't even know it's going to happen. I said, it hasn't even happened yet. You are saying that's going to happen right now, and you have no idea. So I told him, I said, you have the option right now to get really upset about what could happen or just wait and see and handle it. He was still upset, but I need him to start to think like that. I can't control what's going to happen to me, so why am I going to punish myself twice? So let's say he sees his teacher 1 hour from now, and he has the option to be upset from now up until the time he sees his teacher. That's a lot of emotional toll it's going to take on somebody. You're stressed, anxious, depressed, freaking out, crying for an hour straight. You could do that, or you could forget about it for an hour, try to forget about it for an hour, say, well, let's just see what happens. Be calm and then accept the situation, the consequences as they happen. The consequences are going to happen regardless of how you feel beforehand. The consequences in what is going to happen, what she's going to do, are going to happen regardless of how much you get upset. So for an entire hour before that happens, you can either be really, really upset about it and stress yourself out and do worse in your classes beforehand, be upset with your friends and feel awful for an hour, or you can be chill, relax, and have the exact same consequences happen anyway. If you stress out about it for an hour before it happens, it's like you're punishing yourself for something that's already going to punish you. It's like, your parents are, back in the day, your parents are spanking you for doing something bad, and before you get spanked by them, you spank yourself. That's what it is. Weird visual, but that's kind of what it is. It's like, I'm upset about this thing that's going to happen, that's going to be bad, so I'm going to be upset about it before the thing happens that's going to make me upset. And that's what we do whenever we think, what if the worst happens? So I want to introduce this to him because this is a skill. This is a skill he can learn while he's here with me. This is some mentoring I can do with my son while he is here living with me instead of having him figure it out on his own without any guidance. So if I can offer him that guidance now that he's just turned 11, I will do that. So I want him to think through the worst possible scenario, understand that even if the worst possible scenario happens, he can survive and be strong. He's strong enough to survive and be okay. And then also have him realize that he is creating the worst possible scenario before it happens, and understand that you don't have to be upset about something that hasn't happened yet, and you get to decide how you react. All of these are lessons that this situation gave me the opportunity to help teach him. Another one was, even though you're scared, you do the thing anyway. He was scared to go to school. They normally leave at one time they left 5 minutes later. My daughter Lauren, who's a organized, neat freak, was freaking out that they were 5 minutes late. She's like, Dad, what's going to... And she did the same thing. She said, Dad, what's going to happen if we miss the bus? I said, Lauren... I just told her. I said, Lauren, you're not going to miss the bus. So with Nathan, the lesson was, you're going to be scared because of what you did. You think you've... Restart. So the lesson with Nathan was, you are scared, but you still have to do the thing anyway. Right now, you are scared to go to school, but you still have to go to school. You're scared to walk up to your teacher and say, this is what happened, but you still have to do it. So that's what I told him. I said, just tell her the truth. Say exactly what happened. And I know you're scared right now. I can tell you that it's not as scary as you think it's going to be. Like right now, because you're in 5th grade, you think it's going to be this really big thing, but it's not. It just happens all the time. But even though you're scared, you still have to do the right thing. And no, I'm not going to rescue you from it. I told him that. I said, I'm not going to save you from this. I'm not going to tell mom to contact your teacher first and calm things down before she talks to you. I said, you need to learn to deal with the consequences of the actions that you've created. I said, just accept it. And I told him, I said, it's even freeing just to know that you're going to get consequences for what you did, instead of having that thought in the back of your head of maybe I can get away with this, and having that lie in the back of your head and always trying to think, am I going to get found out? It's like once you just know that you're found out and that you're going to get consequences for what happened, it's a freeing feeling. So he goes to school. I make a couple of jokes with him about, being a Russian hacker and a Russian spy before he leaves. So he laughs at least as he's walking up to the bus. And I was like, well, then he started to worry about what his friends were going to say. He's like, well, this means I have to rat out my friends. I was like, Nathan, if you have a whole friend group who's trying to hack their iPads, then this is going to be the best thing that you could ever do for them, because once you get in trouble, you're going to save all of them from getting in trouble. I said, would you rather all of your friends get in trouble or just you get in trouble and they learn from it? He's like, I'd rather that. I don't want them to get in trouble. I said, okay, good. So if you can phrase these things to your kids appropriately, sometimes you can spare them of some of the damage they do to themselves. But he left, went on the bus. Hopefully he was fine, but it's out of my control. And as a father, that's out of my control. I'm not going to micromanage the situation. I'm not going to email his teacher, call his teacher, say, hey, Nathan did this. Can you please be easy on him? He didn't mean to. No. Nathan has to learn how to be a man. He has to learn how to handle his emotions. He has to learn how to look someone in the face and say, I did this. I accept responsibility for it. If he's always looking for an escape route or the easy route, that leads to nowhere good. And I want him to learn this lesson now about doing the thing you have to do, whether you're scared anyway, as a child, and also taking ownership of your actions so that he doesn't turn into a weak adult man, because that leads to nowhere good. That leads to guys who stay at a 9-to-5 forever because they're terrified. As I've been saying, I was a teacher for, I think it was 14 years, maybe not 15. 14 or 15. Yes, it was 14. Because I remember getting a 10-year pin, and I still have that pin. I have friends that are in like sales jobs and corporate jobs, and they're like, yeah, for my 5-year anniversary, I got flown to this island and blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, for my 10-year anniversary, I got this $50 pin. And I remember promising myself when I got that pin, I will not make it to 15 years. And I said, no matter what, whether I start a business or I don't, I won't be here at year 15. I made that promise to myself. And on year 14, I quit and was able to survive and thrive with the business I created. But if I was a guy who was stuck in fear and what if the worst happens and that whole weak mindset, I would never have quit. And I know many, many, many teachers who wanted to do what I did but are stuck because they're scared. Not just at my school, but at lots of schools. And they call the benefits a teacher gets golden handcuffs. That's like what the teachers call it. And if you're in that world, it seems like it. Because if you are a teacher in a school district where you get these contracts made by the union and you can see every single step you make till the day you retire. So okay, I start at, let's say, $30,000 and I end at $80,000. Like, let's say that's your scale. And then you know that you're going to get a pension when you're done in health benefits. So okay, well, I'm 55 years old, which I could have retired at 54 years old with like full pension, which is crazy. And that means from 54 to the as long as I live, it was like 70% of my teacher salary, which would have been nuts for doing nothing. You just exist and you get money. And teachers call that the golden handcuffs if you're in a district like that, because you feel like you're handcuffed to your job because the payout at the end is so good. In your world, it's so good. Not realizing that in the private sector, or if you start your own business, or if you just look anywhere else, you can get also very, very good things. But for a vast majority of people in the country, I mean, that's an amazing deal. Pensions are not common anymore. Like these amazing union benefits are not super common to most people. So like there's plenty of miserable teachers who, worked a job for 20, 25 years they didn't want because of the benefits they got whenever they retired. So they were handcuffed, golden handcuffs. And that I didn't care. Like for me, at that point, when I quit and the years leading up to that, I was in business groups for years. I already paid coaches thousands of dollars to teach me how to quit my job and how to build businesses and build brands. So I already and I was listening to Jim Rohn, Tony Robbins, Robert Kiyosaki. I already brainwashed myself at that point out of that mindset. And I remember telling the teachers I was quitting, like, "Are you sure you want to? You're going to regret it." And I said, "No, I will regret it for the rest of my life if I stay here." And thank God I developed that mindset that allowed me to take off for the rest of my life. I don't mean take off work. I mean take off like a rocket ship, like an eagle. Take off like the rest of my life could take off because I quit. And I want my son to have that mindset before he has to do that. Like the spot I get to is the spot he gets to start his life with. That's like, why do we keep on building ourselves physically and joining men's groups and hiring coaches? This is me talking. Like, why do I continue to do that? Why do I continue to read books? And, I started writing a book. I want to do these things, starting businesses. There's other businesses I want to start. Like, why do I keep on doing that? Yes, it's so I can be personally successful, but also that gets to be the starting point of my children if I give them that information. Like when my kids start their own life without us, as long as I give them that information, that gets to be their starting point instead of them waiting decades to figure it out as I did. So if I live my life in ignorance and don't build myself, my kids get a lower platform that they're going to start their life on. Like I do a lot of sales. I did sales with my ad agency 6-7 years ago. I remember my first business coach gave us sales scripts to memorize and make your own. I remember working with those and doing sales calls in the back of the band room and storage closets and running from classroom. Realtors would be like, "What's that sound? It sounds like a tuba." I'd be like, no, it's nothing. It's just a radio. And I'd be closing them, from the back of a storage closet. All those skills leading up to what I do now and leading up to my current point in life and building brand. Like I get to give all of that to my son and daughter. And even Nathan loves sales now. Like there's different strategies and there's people online that I want to hone my craft. Everyone needs to be good at sales, not just people who are like selling physical products and services. If you're a business owner, you got to be great at sales. If you're a 9-to-5er, you got to be great at sales. You have to learn how to sell yourself if you want to advance in your career. It's sell your colleagues on ideas. You have to understand the basics of it. But I'm vocal about the process, and Nathan loves practicing it. Like Nathan will say, "Hey, Dad, I'm going to try to sell you on this Tic Tac. Like I really want some Tic Tacs right now. He did that to me the other day. So I really want a box of Tic Tacs right now. Can I sell you on it?" I said, "Sure. If you sell me on it good enough, then you can do it." And he didn't do a very good job, so it was a good teachable moment. He was like, "Dad, I want this Tic Tac." I said, he's like, "Don't you want to get your son a Tic Tac?" It's like it was his first method. And I was like, "No, Nathan, that's not how you do it." I said, you need me to say why I want the Tic Tac. You can't be the one to tell me why I want the Tic Tac. You need to get me to say why I need you to get the Tic Tac. So then I did the reverse process on him, and he was like, "Oh my God, you just sold me." I said, "Yeah." And then so he loves that process, but he's only 11 years old. He just turned 11. What's he going to be like when he's 18? If he keeps on doing that and he keeps on learning about business, and Lauren loves the business stuff too. She was always sporting Rising Father gear, and she made her own little Rising Father wrap. She keeps on giving me to post on Instagram. I'll do that this week. I told her she's a disciplined savage. I said, you're going to be running all my human resources and books and everything, and you're going to be sending those. Client doesn't pay. You're going to be the one to send them an email, Lauren. You're scary whenever you want to be. Like, they get to start at the level that I leave, So that's another reason for me to continue to build myself and continue to be my best, is because that is what I give them, as long as I give them that information. So I took a little turn there at the end, but that's where I'm going to leave this podcast. Hey, hope you enjoyed it, everyone. Nice to see you. Subscribe, like, share. Glad you're part of this community. Bye-bye.